sometimes all it takes is a little push in the right direction. What is it really that comes after death? No one has gotten the answer to that question all the way right. Sure, some have gotten bits of it, but not all of the important details. Clayton Shaw was a good man, and by all accounts, that should have earned him a one-way ticket to the brilliance, save for one final fatal mistake. Now, stuck in the after, Clayton, with some guidance, must come to grips with what comes after life. I'm author Gwen Elise Clayton, and I did not write that. That came from the back of the book of Afterwords, the debut novel by author Stephen Bias. I had the opportunity to attend his release party this past Saturday, and I got to interview him. Take a look.
This all started in February of 2021. It started as an argument between me and Courtney, who owns the Henlo Press. I had no idea that this was gonna happen this way. I cannot believe the support that I got from people that are in this room, and there's some people that aren't here either, you know, but I just want you to know how much this means to me, that I'm a published author. I have a book out, okay? I've never done anything important. Well, Lily, yeah. It is for sale, okay? They will be selling them at the end of this. If you don't have a copy, I'd love for you to buy one. Buy one for your friend, your sister, your brother, your mother, your lover, whoever. I don't care. Just buy another copy, because I wouldn't want... It's not just this. They were able to help me get my story out. And I want them to be able to get other stories from other people out and let them see this too. I had went over to my mother's house, and my mother had started in about, what are you doing Sunday? And I said I was going to Rachel's mother's. She goes, why don't you go to church? I said, I'm not going to church Sunday, Mom. I'm going to Rachel's mom's. Well, why don't you take Lily to church? I said, we're going to Rachel's mom's. So Mom, because my mom has these moments where she goes from 0 to 60, and like, I mean, I don't know if it's what it is, but she started going, you're going to hell. Okay? So I went, okay. So I went home, and I had got ready to write something for Courtney, and that's where this all come from, and it just spilled. It literally spilled. It started as, I said, you know, the afterlife. And then I thought, what if the afterlife was really boring? You know, and before I know it, I created all these different things. I'm really dialogue heavy. If you do not like dialogue, you are not going to like my book, because I do a lot of dialogue. I like when people speak to each other. A lot of the research that I did when I would find out about certain things like Egyptian prostitution, I actually went to someone that's actually kind of an expert in that. She's here. She's in the back. What would you like to ask me?
I would like to know how long you've been writing.
I actually wrote a lot when I was a teen. I was actually in Miss Hale's journalism class, and she told me, God, you need to write a book. You know, and I didn't listen to her. And then Rachel would tell me all the time, because I would write her little letters and stuff like that, and she said, you know, you're really creative at the stuff you say. Could you do something for me? So I tried to write a comic book a while back, and that fell through. That was horrible. I failed that miserably. That was really epic how I splatted on my face. And so Courtney said, you know, give me something. I gave her a few pages. She said, I'll turn it over to Chandler. Chandler wrote me back this small little email that said, finish. That's it. And there we went, and off we went. And I got stronger as I went along.
Hold my coffee. I have a question. Where's the book? If you look here, my name is not first out of the kids. My name is last, and I'm very disappointed.
He's like, I'm eating. Sorry, I can't talk.
You made me mad that day. Anyone?
Okay, so it wasn't really an interview. It was part of the Q&A section, but anyhow, we had a great time. They had food. I didn't get any photos of the cookie cake before it got cut up, because I had this really great seat in the front, and then the food was in the back, and I didn't want to lose my seat. So I missed the cookie cake, but anyhow, I always love going to Cicada Books and Coffee. It's in the old Central City neighborhood of Huntington, West Virginia. This place just has ambiance up the wazoo. I mean, it's a used bookstore, so it has that old book vibe, which is just magical in itself. And it's an old building, also magical in itself. And they sell coffee and tea and jewelry and little things for the home. And they have this cute little reading room. It's fabulous. It's a really great place with a great vibe, as I've said before.
Well, we opened in 2018, and we started as a used bookstore and coffee house, and now we've expanded into small lunch service and new books. This is a book launch, and the Henlo Press have spent some time here over the last couple of years since we've been open, and so I think it was a good fit for them to host it here. We have an authors event in September, and local and independent authors, and if somebody, especially if they have local ties and a local audience, as obviously is happening here today, then they usually do very well with the book launch here. Bookstores are always important. They're important everywhere. They are a cultural space and a place that people can gather. A lot of times it's known as a third space. It's a place outside of work and home. I've always loved bookstores, and I have thought about opening a bookstore off and on my entire working life, my entire adult life, and finally was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I don't care if it's a good business model. I'm going to do it because I want to see a bookstore here.
The book is about this 17-year-old guy. So I don't know if you want to call him a boy or a man, because he's 17 and in rural Virginia in 1805. I don't know if that counts as man or a boy, but anyhow, he is the protagonist. He goes on this adventure. He becomes unalived. I'm not going to spoil how that happens, but unalived is a term that I stole from my friend Alex. She has a YouTube channel where she also talks about the spooky stuff, which is really cool. If you like this channel and if you liked Afterwords by Stephen Bias, you'll probably like Alex's channel as well and her books. So I'm always up for giving a plug for authors. So let me read a little bit. Speaking of Virginia, I have another Facebook friend. Her name is Jerissa Looney, and she has an Etsy shop called Dragonfly Crafts, where she has wire wrap jewelry and she does some leather working too. And I think, what else does she do? She had posted that she had some earrings that caught my fancy. So I wanted to show you how they came. It came in this cute little tin with a pretty purple bow, and it looks like a sucrets container with her cute little butterfly signature. Dragonfly, gosh, Gwen, you do know the difference. And then it has this pretty teal colored paper. I liked these. These are some copper braided hoop earrings. And the reason I liked these is because they're kind of Celtic-y with the braids and copper. So it just kind of made me feel all Celtic, and my hair usually covers my ears anyway. But since I'm reading about a story that takes place in Virginia, I might as well wear my earrings that were made in Virginia while I read. I think that is so clever. Afterwords. Cute play on words there. And I'm not going to tell you what afterwards means. You'll have to read the book to find out. But I do want to read a passage from you because it's important, I think. It's an important passage. So the story is about this 17-year-old guy who lived in 1805 Virginia. And I don't know if you consider that a man or a boy at that age. So we're just going to call him a fella, because he's a fella. But he's a sweet kid, and I'm 52, so I can call a 17-year-old a kid. And he goes about his life, and he has troubles, ups and downs, and girl troubles, of course. I mean, what boy doesn't have girl troubles? I shouldn't have said that. That was awful heteronormative of me. But anyhow, so he has girl troubles, he has paw troubles, and all this other stuff. All the stuff that every other kid has problems with. So anyhow, push comes to shove, so to speak, and he becomes unalived. The reason I bring all of this up is because authors are constantly trying to explain how someone becomes a ghost. Like, what is the process? What takes you from being a carbon-based life form to a non-carbon-based life form, like a spiritual form, a ghost, a phantom, an angel, whatever you want to call it. What happens? And so as an author, I'm always curious how other authors explain it, because I write paranormal fiction myself. The first entity to greet him is not St. Peter, and he doesn't go to the pearly gates. His soul gets retrieved by this ancient Greek character. I don't know if he was a god or what. I don't know my classical mythology that well. But his soul gets retrieved by Takis. I'm going to say Takis because I'm from Nevada and we have the ah sound. So anyhow, so in this chapter, this starts on page 66. This is right when Clayton becomes unalived. And isn't that a great name? Clayton, but it's his first name. That's my last name. Anyhow, so Clayton has just become unalived, and Takis is swooping down to retrieve his soul. "Why, boy?" Takis asked the lifeless body at his feet. "There are easier ways to do that." Takis stared at the mangled mess of what was Clayton Shaw. The boy's face was almost unrecognizable, and his suit was covered in blood. One of the bones in his right arm pierced through the skin and cloth, and his legs were bent in unnatural directions. Takis put his hand up to his forehead and turned away. Despite all the horrors he had seen in his life and the after, these sorts of things never ceased to disturb him. Life, Takis knew, was sometimes too precious to simply give up on. "Hurry up," he said, looking around. "I don't want to be here when someone finds you." It made the job easier when the deceased was alone, which often didn't happen. He hated being in a room where family and friends mourned over the death. It made talking to the recently departed even more difficult, and he didn't want Clayton to be found by someone who cared. "I mean, most of you was on that rock. What more could you have left?" Takis complained, tapping his foot impatiently. Takis had to wait until Clayton was completely dead. The soul wouldn't leave the body until the entirety of life was snuffed out. That was the easy part. Once he met Clayton, the real horror began. The questions, the crying, the denial, and then, worst of all, when he realized everything he believed would be waiting for him wasn't. Takis had seen that particular look of sadness that slowly rose across someone's face far too often. He thought of the day he died, and Hermes wasn't there for him. No Hades, no Acheron, just his handler and his new existence of gathering the dead and sorting them along to their fates. He could still remember his first few days as a soul retriever. He thought Zeus was playing a trick on him. It couldn't be this boring or depressing, even if it was the underworld. Takis was looking up at the gloomy, overcast clouds that had moved in when he heard Clayton's soul scream, and it was ejected from his body. An exact duplicate of the young man flung violently off to the side. Takis turned, and his eyes shot down to Clayton laying beside his body, howling in excruciating pain. Dressed the same way as he was at death, he curled up in the fetal position. Clayton was in intense agony. "It's all right, boy," Takis yelled. "It will pass." For the next minute, Clayton writhed on the ground, whimpering as the small rope of light that connected the Achilles heel of his soul and the one on his right foot were severed. So that is just one passage. I'm not going to go into more right now. You'll have to read the book, but I wanted to read that passage because that was the whole reason I bought the book. I'm like, how are you explaining the process? And I want to find out more. I want to know more about how Stephen is going to explain what happens in the next few days and what is Clayton's fate and all that good stuff. So it's really interesting. I like this book. I had a great time talking with the publishers.
The Henlo Press is an independent publishing company stationed in Ashland, Kentucky right now. This is our 4th book that we've just published, and we're looking to publish more and expand into a physical space soon.
So Chandler and I both went to school for creative writing and writing in general, and we've kind of gotten stuck in the day-to-day of that day job, and we really wanted to pursue something that we're passionate about and give a chance to people who don't have that opportunity in this area specifically to kind of reach for that as well. Because there wasn't really anything in the area as far as writing when I moved here. Because I'm kind of a newer transplant in the last few years, and Chandler's grown up here, and we just wanted to do something in the area that we would want to do.
I believe fully in the art of escapism, which mostly translates to reading fictional books. It's my favorite thing to do.
This is our newly designed Hector. He has lots of different facial expressions.
Yes.
In the original one, I couldn't tell if it was a dinosaur or like a monster with 2 stupid eyes, and I liked it both ways. So
we decided he was a Trudon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his full name is Hector, and he's going to be our new intern at the Henlo Press. So.
He is our new intern at the Henlo Press. He had his first post this week, and he's looking forward to writing his own book, which should be kind of interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
He was going to heck you up.
He was going to heck us up if we didn't meet a deadline for a blog post or something, and heckin' Hector, I don't know, just snowballed.
We've been actually working with the Women's Business Association in Kentucky, and we have a full business plan put together with a brick and mortar space to offer, editing and publishing services, and kind of, create an area where people can come in and feel safe and be creative, whether it be in writing or different types of art as well. And big dream would be to have a cafe space in there, as well with some dietary friendly foods, whether it be gluten-free, vegetarian, so everybody can be welcome. And I'd really love to have some Airbnb spaces in there too, with some just crazy art and crazy themed rooms.
That wraps up this week's edition of the Rivervine YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you found it informative or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. And if you feel like you are part of the Commodity Clan, please go ahead and subscribe. I will see you next Tuesday. Thanks so much for watching.